Warning, the following presentation contains cold, hard truths that might change the way you think. Viewer discretion won't do you any good now. Games, games, games. We are drowning in amazing new video games. Drowning! The PlayStation 5 and Xbox whatever it's called are just around the corner, and we're seeing our fair share of highly anticipated sequels. Last of Us 2, Wasteland 3, and Crash Bandicoot 4. But did anyone actually care about Shenmue 3? Fans of this series waited 18 years to play the third installment, and I am one of those silly fans. But jumping right into the third game after an 18-year wait would be way too easy. So in true Shenmue fashion, I decided to put myself through a gauntlet of tedious training by replaying the first two games, going for both platinum trophies, and then diving into the third one. Why? I don't know. Shenmue 1 was pretty fucking cool when it first came out, and very influential. It had the highest budget of any game in history at that time, and it was director Yu Suzuki's first attempt at a non-arcade style game. Sega even coined a new genre to describe it: free. No, the game was not actually free. It stood for Full Reactive Eyes Entertainment. Whatever the shit that means. Shenmue is a 3D, time-based detective adventure game with a cinematic feel and a classic revenge story. You play as Ryo Hazuki,
Ryo-san,
or Dio Hazuki, as you hunt down Lan Di, the man who killed your father, while uncovering an ancient mystery that relates to your true power. You talk to locals, you open drawers, you buy little toys, and you get into a lot of street brawls. Probably because you bought all those little toys. Shenmue was the first realistic Japan simulator that I'd ever experienced, and playing this game really made me want to go to Japan. I remember being so fascinated with the neighborhoods and the culture because of this game. Although, when I finally went there, I wished the game had warned me about the toilets. Yeah, they are not all like this. Now, a lot of people think this is a game where you look for clues and try to solve the mystery of your father's death. But the real goal of Shenmue is to simply navigate the maze of your house and find the front door. Okay. No. Shit. No, that's... Why is this... Where is the... God damn it. I can't move. I can't move. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Okay. God damn it. Now, the graphics in this game totally hold up, and the HD remaster was very nicely done. I thought the lighting effects when you're walking around town at night actually looked amazing, but the audio in this game is just abysmal. I can't seem to get the right mix. It really is impossible. I had to turn the dialogue way down, but look how loud the diary music is compared to the rest of the game. Oh, what the hell? The gameplay in Shenmue is one that honors the passage of time, and you will have to be at certain places at certain times. But I spent way too much time waiting in this game. Not like Elder Scrolls waiting, actual waiting. I think that more than half of my game time was spent not touching the controller. This game needs to take a little less cues from Fist of Fury with Bruce Lee, and a little more from Click with Adam Sandler. As in, let me skip time. Now, if Ryo Hazuki only has one character trait, it is that he really likes to stick his nose where it doesn't belong. And the more crime solving that you do, the more thugs and gang members will approach you for a fight. The combat in this game is Virtua Fighter, but you can level up moves, which is very cool and 100% unnecessary to do. It's also one of those systems where you can easily spam every fight by repeating the same move, which I guess isn't that bad if you're just trying to get through it. It's recommended that you spar with Fuck You-san as much as possible. Oh, wait, that's Fuku-san. My bad. The overall controls in this game are not incredible. Look how much trouble I had just getting on the bus. Jesus fucking... I mean, it's like... Oh, come on, I'm gonna miss the fucking thing, and it's right in front of me. This bus driver's probably like, oh great, another drug addict. But you know, at the end of the day, this game should not be judged by its bus riding mechanics. Shenmue is all about the story, and this game has heartfelt moments. There is a real emotional connection to Ryo's family and friends constantly worrying about him, and lots of foreshadowing that if he goes too far down the path of revenge, he could be killed or worse, become evil himself. There is definitely a kind of fantasy hero's arc hidden beneath the mundane realism of this game. There's also an actual Lord of the Rings character in the game who keeps trying to steal the mirror. But this story also has some unnecessary padding. Like the part where you go to warehouse number 8 and it's the wrong warehouse number 8 and you have to just go to the other one. Just why? Then there's the massive chunk of the game where you work as a forklift driver. This was definitely fun at first, but there's way too much of it. I got the idea after the first day, and you have to do it 4 more times. This game is like something you'd give to your kids to teach them responsibility. Son, did you finish your chores? Yes, Dad. Did you finish your homework? Yes, Dad. Did you finish your forklift driver shift in Shenmue? Fuck you, Dad. I really feel bad for this guy, Mark.
Hey, my lunch!
Mark, just go home. Leave work a half hour early or something. I know how hard it is to get on the bus, but you gotta try. Now, the final level in this game is a brawl against 70 enemies, the last one being Rob Halford, and it's fairly enjoyable, and you can always just cheaply run around to regain health. Now that's a final level! Shenmue ends with Ryo knocking the annoying Gollum clone into the ocean, while Lan Di escapes to Hong Kong and Ryo follows. It's a cliffhanger, but also a satisfying ending. Ryo is taking a big step into a larger world, throwing himself into more danger than ever, and he has had so many warnings. We just had to wait 2 years to see what happened next. Let me start by saying, I never liked this game. If you think the first Shenmue had padding, this game is like a mile-wide foam mattress that's infested with rats. Shenmue 2 begins directly after the first game's ending, with Ryo arriving at Hong Kong. And I hate people who say what the actual fuck, but what the actual fuck is wrong with these characters?
Carry one, and you get $10.
Jesus.
Be careful with the crates.
How about it?
Man, these guys are rough.
You were a lot like me when I was young.
Kill me.
Sorry, your arm will make it 100.
I'm not even gonna say anything about this guy.
Might as well get ready.
I don't think I'm allowed to comment on that. It's even weirder because they all have these stupid American-sounding voices.
Hey, you've got some time on your hands? Do you want to arm wrestle?
After a while, I had to just turn on the Japanese dialogue audio. It's just way more tolerable in every possible way. I played through the bulk of this game in Japanese. So far in both games, I've had to drastically modify the audio somehow just to make the game bearable. It's not good. Another thing that really bothers me is that this game's cutscenes are in this little window with a big-ass black border. In case you're wondering why that is, it's because they tried to do a widescreen effect in a game that was already in 4:3. I'm not the only one who was deeply, deeply bothered by this. I mean, it has no effect on the gameplay. It just makes my video look like shit. Now, this game wastes no time in being frustrating, as the first thing that happens is you get robbed by some bitch-ass kid who actually ends up being a little bitch, and then later on he becomes your bitch. But you don't ever get that money back. So if you carried your save file over from Shenmue 1 and thought that it was cool that all your money transferred over and got exchanged to Hong Kong dollars, well, enjoy it while it lasts, which is the first 2 minutes of the game. Now, Shenmue 2 does have some advantages over the first game. The combat now allows you to lock onto a single person during group battles. The button mapping of the free roam controls has also improved, and there are now maps that you can buy and little colored markers you can place to help remember locations. And you are gonna need them, because the amount of different neighborhoods this game tosses at you right in the beginning is pretty insane. In the first hour of the game, you go back and forth through 11 different areas. And just remembering how they're all connected is quite the test of attention span. Now, I've played through Shenmue 2 in its entirety several times in my life, And the only other thing I seem to remember about this first section of the game is the part where you have to carry these books. Attention, you Suzuki. Why? It's not like this is difficult or anything. It's just boring. What kind of practice is this anyway? Airing out books? I never heard of that. After learning some kung fu from your hot female teacher who Ryo totally doesn't appreciate, you travel from Wanzai to Kowloon and begin the second half of the game. This part of the game kind of reminds me of the game Agony. Not because it reminds me of being in hell, but just because it's fucking terrible. The amount of time you spend in buildings like this. Holy shit. I have honestly had nightmares about being lost in apartment buildings that look like this. This is not a joke. I really have. And I know for sure it's because of this game. I don't think this is the kind of game that is supposed to give you nightmares. This isn't Control or Resident Evil. The part where you have to follow Yuan through this entire city, I imagine is what it feels like to have sex with Yuan. A giant, boring pain in the ass. But the part where Yuan chases you with a chainsaw is pretty hilarious. I would also like to point out something about Yuan. Japanese version, man. English version, woman. Awkward. But there is also a really unnecessary amount of this. This game offers a very distinct form of torture-style game structure. You think you're done with some horrible task, only to find out you have to do it 3 more times. You think you finally found Yuan Zoo, after like excruciating levels of dragging out the search. And then he gets kidnapped. You just scaled 10 floors of the Ghost Hall building, and then you find out you have to scale 17 floors of the Yellowhead building. But to even get into that building, you have to win a couple of street fights. After that, you have to win 3 more. And there's a pretty expensive buy-in for these fights. Now, since you got robbed earlier, you'll need to either sell some toys that you hopefully bought in the first game, or before you were robbed, or you can get a part-time job. Your only other option is to save scum at a gambling table. Whichever method you choose, one thing is for sure, you're fucked.
Do you feel like working now?
But after you raise the money, win the 3 fights, and finally get into that stinking Yellowhead building, I'm gonna take a piss on this thing, make it even more yellow. You reach the 17th floor, and oh, what's that? Yuan Zoo is actually on the 40th floor. Wow. Just the amount of padding and milking.
Where's Zoo? On the roof.
Okay, this is just getting absurd. Let me guess. We get to the roof, and Yuan Zoo is actually on the moon. That's right. Then you get to the moon, and Yuan Zoo has actually ascended into the 7th ring of Saturn. Now that would be cool. Now, I will give credit to one cool thing that happens in the story during this game. You find out that the dragon and phoenix mirrors can be used to resurrect an ancient order called the Qing Dynasty. Nobody really knows what this means yet. It might involve a dragon. We don't know. Could be very tight though. We also find out Lan Di killed Ryo's father because Ryo's father supposedly killed Lan Di's father, Sun Ming Zhao, further adding to the question of, will Ryo's quest for revenge lead him to become just like Lan Di and turn him down the path of evil? I can appreciate all of this. I just wish everything leading up to it wasn't such a nightmare. Literally. After climbing a bunch of horrible buildings, beating Do Niu, saving Yuan Zoo, and letting Lan Di escape again, and again, and again, and again. Ugh. God. Ryo then leaves Kowloon and heads to Guilin. This epilogue is like a breath of fresh air for about 2 seconds. You and Shenhua just keep walking and walking and walking. Just like everything else in this game, even this goes on for too long. It's so weird. I just met this girl, yet we've got to be already sick of each other. Watch this. Oh, God. Can you imagine if this is how his journey ended? He came all this way and then just dies by jumping off a cliff? That would be amazing. Speaking of cliffs, the end of this game might be a more frustrating cliffhanger than the first game. We finally start to see some supernatural shit happen. There's a floating sword, and then the game ends. For some reason, this game has amazing reviews. I really do not get it. I think it's the equivalent of when Smash Mouth's All-Star was considered Best Song of the Year by multiple music publications, only to later be realized as really, really ass. I totally platinumed the shit out of it, though. Now, ever since the inception of Shenmue, the plan was for the series to span 4 games. And although 1 and somehow 2 are both beloved games, they weren't as commercially successful as one would think. But in 2015, Yu Suzuki was finally able to begin production on Shenmue 3. And pretty much the entire Shenmue staff returned. The directors, writers, character designers, composer, lead programmer, and even voice actor Corey Marshall, who plays Ryo. In November 2019, Shenmue 3 was finally released. But how does it hold up after all this time in between installments? Well, if you play Shenmue 3 right after playing, let's say, Red Dead Redemption 2, it's not gonna seem that great. But if you go into Shenmue 3 right after playing Shenmue 1 and 2, it will seem like the greatest game you've ever played. I went right into 3, and it was like drinking a nice cold beer after trying to eat a light bulb. Yes, yes, and oh god, yes. Now the story is that Shenhua's father is missing, as he is one of the stonemasons that forged the magical mirrors that you and Lan Di possess. We still have the same core gameplay of asking people questions and adding intel to your journal. And the journal has had some serious upgrades. It's got tabs and maps, different sections. Just listen to the sound of the pages flipping. Oh yeah. But there are also some major new additions here. You now have to eat food to keep up your stamina and health. You can do various training exercises that will level up your attributes such as Kung Fu and Endurance. And there is a vast plant collection system, which is a really good source of cash. No, you do not sell weed. These are herbs, holistic flowers. This is a family game. Kind of. But that's all just scratching the surface. There is a shitload of stuff to do in this game. Fishing for cash, gambling for prizes that you can sell for cash. Still a family game though. Chopping wood for cash, catching ducks for cash, driving a forklift. But there is nothing more adorable than watching this old lady react to you chopping her wood.
Whoa!
She is so cute, come on.
Well done.
And speaking of cute,
I'm looking for a store that carries liquor.
Ryo, come on. He's like 4 years old. He's not gonna know where the liquor store is.
It's over there.
Oh my god.
Okay, thanks.
That's one helpful kid. Now, the combat is so much better in Shenmue 3, it's not even funny. I know some people are gonna disagree with that, and probably prefer the Virtua Judo Grapple Fest that we had previously, but this is clearly smoother and more satisfying in every way. Some people have claimed this combat system has less depth, and those people couldn't be less right. This game makes it way harder to button mash your way through fights, but also easier to perform skills. In your several different move sets that you can customize, there is an automatic set that allows you to easily perform your favorite skills by simply pressing the right trigger. There is also a manual system for those who do want to input the commands like in previous games. But I think the introduction of move sets is a great idea in general. Let's be honest, most people who play Shenmue are really only using the same 1, 2, maybe 3 moves over and over again. This just caters to that a bit more. Now, as usual, you buy skill books from one of the many kung fu shops, and just like in the previous games, the more you use the skill, the better it gets until it's mastered. There's also a lot of deep diving into how Kung Fu works. Characters spend a lot of time explaining the meaning and origins of the different styles and moves that you learn, and it comes off as a real love letter to Kung Fu. The previous games did this to some extent, but this game really dumps it on you. But it's not just the Kung Fu or the exploration. Shenmue 3 has some of the best standing around I've ever done in any game. The backgrounds look incredible. Although they really dropped the realism in favor of magic and fantasy. I mean, look at this. I'm actually moving this swing with my mind, using some kind of kung fu telekinesis. Oh, never mind. That's a bug. Now, what is this situation with Ryo and Shenhua anyway? I've been dreaming about her since the first game. I finally meet her, and right away we become this married couple who lives together and doesn't have sex anymore. We skipped all the good stuff. I've noticed that at this point, Ryo's name has just evolved into Leo.
Calm down, Leo.
I think I'm gonna call him Leo now. You know, the story in this game does feel a lot zippier than the previous two games. It never really felt like it was being dragged or padded out, but Leo does say some dumb shit sometimes.
VIPs have their own room?
Leo. The very definition of VIP is having your own room. We also find out that Shenhua, is a demon.
You think I'm afraid of a little girl like you?
What did she do to him? Wait a minute. There was a third pole just a second ago. Oh, God, Shenhua. Don't tell me. Now, I would like to discuss this game's ending. And for the 7 people who care, you may want to stop watching at this point, unless you want some mildly cool shit spoiled for you. Now, after fighting Chai for the 8th time, I'm sorry, can we please dispose of his body now? You can't keep letting this thing run around. It's not cool anymore. Remove the head from the torso. Let's go. Come on. But the ending push here is just amazing. All your kung fu buddies all show up to help you storm the castle. You team up with Ren and fight a nice wave of enemies as you head straight for Lan Di. This is epic. But it's really funny that Ryo is still updating his journal while all this is happening. Duh. Look what he's writing. Duh. Just imagine him stopping to write that. That's really funny. Now, the big spoiler of this game is the fact that you get to fight Lan Di. Sort of. You don't actually get to hit him, but somehow it's still the coolest thing in the world. I really don't get it. I think it's the music. But we all knew this game would continue the cliffhanger trend of this series, and I was more than okay with that. The ending still delivers. Overall, Shenmue 3 totally satisfied me as a Shenmue half fan. This is a lively and colorful world that you want to be in, with a lot to explore and a great continuation of the storyline. Although this game is definitely an upgrade in accessibility, I don't know if it's a big enough upgrade to rope in new players. But apparently Shenmue 4 will be. Yu Suzuki has stated he wants to add fast travel, time skip options, fucking finally, and a different UI. He has also stated in a separate interview that the combat will be the most insane shit that your bitch asses have ever seen, and that it will make Yakuza look like it was made for little bitch babies. In fact, what I'm about to show you is actual pre-alpha footage of what combat will be like in Shenmue 4. But another thing that Suzuki has actually vowed to do is to never give up on this series. And you know something? Neither will the fans. Maybe it's the peculiar but lovable characters. Maybe it's that subtle hint of mysticism and fantasy that's brooding underneath the surface. But there is something magical about Shenmue that I can't quite put my finger on. But it will always keep me coming back to this series and its future installments. But Shenmue 2? You can Go fuck yourself. Seriously, what the fuck is that game?